Noninkables. Hello and welcome to Noninkables podcast. We are on episode 23 of season 2. I did not make a podcast last week because I was busy, trying to figure out what deck to play for Texas, and I think I didn't decide until Friday. So, first things first, congratulations to Tyler, aka Botsu from our team. He made top 4 in the Friday 10K. He won the 15K on Saturday. And then he, right after that, won the 3v3 with his team on Sunday. So, I'm calling him Triple Crown. We're making top both competitions, winning the 15K and then winning the 3v3. I will be doing a video with him where we do like a little interview and we talk to him and see like kind of his story and how he got into Lorcana. And like, I've always known he's really good and our locals know that. But I feel like this is the first big competition that he's done very well at, because I think the only other big one he went to was Vegas and that was it. But we'll talk about all that stuff. We'll talk about how he prepares and, interviewee stuff. And then we're also going to make another video about the deck that he played. So it was red, blue, sharks. And then he actually played like a different deck between Friday and Saturday competition with like 2 little changes. So we'll talk about that. Why did the deck change and all that stuff? So that will be coming out later this week, maybe today or tomorrow. Yeah. So this podcast will obviously be talking a lot about my experience this weekend. But before we get into that, we have some upcoming competitions. So Set Champ starts this weekend. Our first one is going to be on Sunday at Dusty. And then I think we're going to maybe 2 or 3 more. And then there is a weekend where we're going to miss a bunch of Set Champs because we're going to be at Gen Con and we'll be playing stuff there. And then I think depending on how we do in the Set Champs before Gen Con kind of determines if we're going to play in one the weekend after. Undecided. And so that is what we have upcoming. And then in terms of Texas, let's talk about Texas. It was super fun, super, super, super fun. So Tyler had told me to play the Sharks deck like maybe earlier in the week. And I tried it out and I felt like I was just, I don't know, I felt wild, to be honest. I played DKP at the end of the set before that. I think whenever the DKP deck like first came out, the set before that, I literally played it the next day, like after the set list was posted, and didn't do that well, but then like did a couple more Set Champs and did okay. I'm like pretty good. I think I got like top 3 at one, and I don't remember the other one. And so I was like, this should be fine. I've played this deck before. It just doesn't have Hiram. It's fine. It didn't have that many Hirams before anyways. And so I tried it and I don't know what, I felt like every single turn I was making stuff up. I didn't know what I was doing. And it made me feel really nervous. And also I kept losing. And so, but I think looking back at like all the decks I played against, for some reason, I just queued into like the most difficult decks to play for this deck, which is like aggro and discard. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take items. I've been practicing that. I'm going to take items. So on Friday, I played items and I was exhausted. I ended up with a record of 332. I dropped after round 8 because we'll talk about it, but I was just so tired. And I mean, part of it is because red-blue is kind of more grindy. So if you match into another grindy deck like red-blue or red-purple, you can draw. I had multiple rounds go into turns. And I think like you can be fast playing red-blue, but it's not common that both opponents are fast. And so you're also dependent on your opponent being fast, and that did not happen. So the first round I played into red-purple and we drew. So the first game I was on the play and I lost 7 to like 20 something. Second game I was on the play and I won 20 to 11. The third game we had like 7 minutes left. So I was shuffling super fast and like shoving my cards together and I split a sleeve. And then I didn't have any more of that specific sleeve, but I had like a whole new set of sleeves. So I had to re-sleeve my entire deck. And so then when we actually started, we had like 4 minutes on the clock. And then we went to turns, and at the end of turns, it was like 3 versus 10. So it was a draw. And I think all the like red-blue mirrors and the red-blue, red-purple decks that played against each other that first round also had a lot of draws. And I think that just kind of clumped all of the red-blue, red-purple into like the middle. And so I played so many mirrors that day. So that day I ended up playing 2 red purples, 1 blurple, and the rest were all red blue. It was crazy. So, and looking around afterwards, like there are people playing amber steel, there are purple people playing green steel, there are purple people playing green purple. I just didn't play any of them. Only red blue, and red purple, and then 1 blurple. So second round, I played against red blue. We were in that little draw pile that was in the middle. First game, I was on the play and I won. Wait, let me make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yes. Second game, I was on the draw and I won. The opponent had no cards. That was that. The third game I played against red, I lost. The first game I was on the draw and I lost. The second game I was on the play and I still lost. But in that round, I played a Barber who I never met before, but I look at his decks all the time. So if you are on Dreamborn and you see like a red-blue deck and it has like the little barber emoji, like the little spiral thing that they have on the outside of old-timey barber shops, that's his decks. And I was like, and I didn't realize it until like his name was Barber in Melee. I played him, and then like after the whole day was over and we were leaving, I saw him outside and I was like, wait, are you the Barber from the Barber decks? And he was like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I steal your decks all the time. So that was really cool. And for some reason, I thought he was European. I don't know why. You know what gave me that impression. He's not. And then in round 4 is when I played against Blurple. First game, I was on the draw and I won. Second game, I was on the draw and I lost. They were just like very aggro and I couldn't do anything. Third game, I was on play and I lost. I don't think I saw any workshops that entire game. And I feel like in items, if you don't see workshops, you don't have cards. So difficult. Okay, so that was round 4. Also, there was no break. So we just went straight through. Round 5, I played against the red-blue shark, and we drew. So first game, I was on the draw, and I did like Tamatoa Lucky Dime stuff and won that way. Second game, I was on the draw, and I lost 2-18. And then third game, I was on the play, and it was a draw because we went to turns, and it ended up being 9-13. For 6th round, I played against red-purple. And that one, I ended up winning. So first game I was on the play, I won 20-7. Second game I was on the draw, I lost 7-20. And then the third game was on the play, and it was like neck and neck. Like he would get some lore, I would get some lore, and then it was like 13-13. And that one, I think I lucky dimed and got to 21. But I remember in that game, I healed his Queen of Hearts. The 2-drop that's like 1/4, unless it's damaged, then it's like a 4/4. I healed it with my popsicle so that my Scrooge could take it out and not die or not get banished. And then round 7, my opponent didn't even show up. And like by round 6, I was like already very, very tired. And round 7, I was like, oh, my opponent didn't show up. Let me like take a break, maybe eat something. And I was like, okay, I should be good to go. Round 8, I played against red blue and I did not, my brain was not there. So the first game, I was on the draw and I lost. I also got a judge call on me. And it was definitely my fault. So I had 3 workshops out and I forgot to ink at the beginning of my turn. So I played an item. I paid 2 ink to draw from 2 of the workshops. And then I tried to like ink and draw from the 3rd workshop, which is not the right order. You can't do that. And then right after I did it, I was like, oh wait, I can't do that. But I'd already like taken the card off the top of my deck, so I saw it. And so then he called the judge on me, and so it ended up that I got a warning. I put the card back into the deck, and then the judge shuffled the deck, which was fine. And then later there was a turn where I inked something, and I had 2 sapphire coils out, and I didn't say like, oh, I will reduce the strength of whatever character. And then I went to go attack, and then my character died. And I was like, you know what? I should probably just stop playing because my brain is not braining, and I'm gonna get like more warnings and just get DQ'd from this whole thing. So then partway through game 2, I was like, you know what? Like we were at like table 68. So we were out of any sort of prizing, which started at like 32, which doing the math is like table 16 and above would get pricing. So like really far away. So even if we like won out, I don't think we could have gotten any pricing. Although I think my opponent was under the impression that we could get pricing because he was like, oh, I'm just calling a judge because I want to try to get the top 32 pricing. And that's the only reason why I'm still playing. And I was like, okay, I don't think that we're in that contention at all. But also my brain is not working and I can't even like play my deck. So who knows? And so then I was like, you know what? You can just take both games and I'm good. And he was like, really, you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to like get another warning and get DQ'd. Anyways, so then after that I dropped and I decided I'm not playing items anymore. Screw this. Luckily, I brought most of the cards. I think all the cards I needed for Red Blue Sharks. And so we went to dinner as a team. So me, Brian, and Tyler. Unfortunately, Gary couldn't come to Texas because he is traveling internationally. He is in Peru. And I think he was in like Cusco or Machu Picchu or somewhere at the time. So he was kind of just like, and like, it was so sad because he didn't have good, I don't think he had Wi-Fi and he had like not great cell reception. So he was like kind of sometimes messaging us on Discord, just being like, what's happening? I can't watch any streams. So sad that Gary couldn't make it. But so the three of us went out to get our usual hot pot dinner. And then Tyler gave me a crash course on how to play Red Blue Sharks. And then he also talked to me about the rubber duck theory, which I'd heard about before, but like totally forgot what it was. But it's basically like a computer programmer thing where you try to, you pretend like you have a rubber duck and then you explain the things to the rubber duck. And that sometimes can help you kind of clarify your thought process. And so I was like, okay, I think I do need to do that because when I play at home and I talk it out and I'm not distracted, I actually play like way better than when I'm doing something else. Even if it's like, so a lot of times when I'm playing Lorcana, I'm like knitting or crocheting. And I did a little experiment this morning where I played some games while I was doing that and definitely lost. And then played some games when I wasn't doing that and won. So I feel like, I mean, it's not very great scientific data, but it's close enough that I should really focus when I'm playing. So hot pot dinner was super good. We went to K-Pot, which I think is a chain, but it was delicious. I love hot pot. Anyways, and then, okay, so Saturday morning, I went to bed early so before we left for the trip, I worked a night shift and then I got on a plane. And then, so that night I went to bed really early. I think I got like 9 or 10 hours of sleep. And then after Friday, we played a whole day. We went to dinner. I went home. I went to bed probably around like 10. I woke up at 2 a.m., partly because I think I was nervous because I was playing a new deck. And I think maybe I had too much coffee the day before. And then I think I spent like maybe an hour or two trying to go back to sleep. And then afterwards, I was like, this isn't going to happen. So then I just got up and practiced Sharks on Lorcanito. Turns out 4 a.m. is really when people who are very high ranking play on Lorcanito. Because I kept getting matched into people whose MMRs were like 1,600. I was like, what? This is the time they play, I guess. Because I was like, I'm losing so badly. And these people are playing so fast. They seem so good. And then I would like look at my stats and I'm like, oh, they are good. Okay. So then Saturday, Tyler was there early to play in his top 8 from the Friday 10K. So he started at like 8 a.m. Brian and I ended up getting there pretty early too because Tyler said that we were going to add a Merlin carpet bag to the deck. So then I was trying to find Merlin carpet bags, but none of the vendors had it because it's a card that sells for like 0 money. And then I even looked through one of the vendors, like all of their bulk, and didn't find it. Luckily, Tyler was able to borrow 2. I think one from someone from Forbidden Mountain, and then I don't remember who the other one he bought. I think one of his like SLTC friends. And so luckily we got to borrow those. The first round I had my buy that I won from Gamelandia. So I walked around and I was like, ooh, this meta is much more diverse than the day before. Because I feel like Friday's meta was like a lot of red, blue, and red, purple. And then like some amber steel. And then like a little bit of like green decks, right? And then walking around on Saturday, it was like way more diverse. I was like, oh, amber steel, green purple. Ooh, purple steel. Ooh, red, blue. And then I saw like amber blue and blue green. So it's like way more diverse. So first round, I kind of just walked around and like I looked a little bit at people playing, but like I didn't want to be creepy. So then I sat down and like played a little bit on Inktable on my phone. And then round 2, I matched into Ben, who was playing blue purple. And I was on the play of the first game and I won. And then the second game I was on the draw and I won. Although both games were like pretty close. And in the second game, I played in early Pirate's Life, like at 6 ink. I like paid full price for a Pirate's Life And that probably saved me because in the end, when the game ended, Ben was at 19. So that early Pirates life really saved my butt. Round 3, I matched into Brian. Don't know how I did that. Miracle. I think it's really my fault. And I am just a magnet for playing people I already know. So Brian was playing Green Steel. I lost the die roll. I was on the draw and somehow managed to win both games on the draw, 20-6, both times. Which is weird because when I play him outside of the competitive setting, like when I play him at home, I always lose. And then we did a bunch more practice on Sunday. The next day, I probably lost like 8 or 9 games against him. Didn't win any. So I think maybe the competitive setting makes him more anxious than it makes me anxious. And that is an advantage for me. And that's why I won. So at this point, my record is good. It's 3-0. Round 4, I matched into Red Purple Evasives. It was, I didn't write down his name, but he was somebody who it was Camille. I did write down his name. So he had been 7th in the 10K. So the one that was from Friday, but like they played that morning. So he had been 7th. So first game, I was on the draw and I won. Second game, I was on the draw and I lost 17-20, so kind of close. And the third game, I was on the play, but we ran out of time. We went into turns. It ended up being 17-13. Neither of us could close out the game, but we both had Pirate's Life, so we could prevent the other person from closing out the game. And I think if we had more time, probably could have won. I had a pretty good hand. So that ended up being a draw. So at this point, my record is 3-0-1. And then after that, I matched into Red Purple. It was the person I played the day before. So I think it was Chris. I didn't remember his name at the time. And I was just like, hey, I played against you the day before because I recognized his mat because he had a Rapunzel mat, Rapunzel sleeves, and they had like oversleeves on them. And I remember so for most of the day, I was just like cutting people's decks. And then I was like, I should try shuffling his deck because it looks difficult to shuffle. I don't know why I was like, I should try to shuffle this very difficult to shuffle deck. I think I just wanted to see if I could because it was so big and I could not and almost dropped the cards everywhere. Anyways, first game I was on the play and I won. And then the second game I was on the draw and I won. However, that game I did not have a how far I'll go. So I ended up doing like a Tipo plus sale on turn at like 4 ink. And then when he was at like 14-15 lore, he played 3 libraries. And so I had a decision to make to be like, do I try to get rid of these libraries or do I just try to like outquest him? And so I decided to just try to like outquest him. So I played like a manor and some characters. And then I think the turn before I won, I had a manor and a shark on board. And then he ended up, and I think I was at like 16 lore. He ended up taking out my manor, but in hand I had Pirate's Life. So I think I had Pirate's Life, and then I also had a goof. So let me think. Because I think if he took out the shark, the manor would get me to 18, and then I could either play Pirates or the goof. And then if he took out the shark, if he took out the shark, I would get the 2 from the manor and then sing Pirate's Life and goof. And then I think he ended up taking out the shark. If he had taken out the manor, I would have sung Pirate's Life and goofed. But in the end, basically I got the 2 lore from the manor. I think he took out the shark and then I super goofed into one of his characters. And it was so funny because I was using French goof, so it was dingo. And then he was like, is that on Banish or on Challenge? And I was like, it's on Challenge, but let me find you the English version because I have one English version in the deck. So then I showed it to him. And then I think he was kind of upset because then he started like texting really quickly into his phone after that. Sorry. But yeah, so that one I won. And then the next one I played a red-blue mirror against Christian and I lost. I lost the die roll. I lost that game. And then when I was on the play, I also lost. I saw no popsicles in both games at all. No popsicles. I saw some tomatoas. I saw my carpet bag, but no popsicles, so it was useless. And I think Christian saw like all 4 of his popsicles and all his tomatoas. So, I mean, if he lost to me, I feel like that would have been bad. He did end up being 16th. So I feel like had I not bricked that one, maybe I would have ended up in the top 16. And then I feel like because prior to round 6, my record was 4 401. No, it was 50. Yeah, 501, which is like probably the best record I've ever had at a big tournament. So 501, except for maybe I've had better records. But no, 501 is probably the best record I've had because usually I bubble in from the bottom. So I have some losses in there. But 501, and I was like 15, which is really good for me. And then I think because I lost that game, I just started matching into like weird stuff because the decks I played after that were kind of weird. So round 7, I matched into green-blue item, and I lost. First game I was on the draw, I got to 12 lore, but he had like 2 Oswalds that I couldn't get rid of. It really made me miss playing blue steel. And then he had like a whole section of his mat was just like a pile of items. I think he probably, because he had like Hidden Inkcaster, and then his Oswalds always triggered items. And so I think he had like, I don't know, 20 items. No, he had 14 items because he played a Tamatoa that I couldn't get rid of. He quested to 14. I got rid of the Tamatoa. And then he played like a little Tamatoa, dimed it to 16, and then won after that because he had a big Tamatoa in hand. And then the second game, when I was in the play, I think I got to 5 lore, and then he Ratigan Smartabilis trapped me twice. I went down to like 2 lore, and then he had a bazillion items, so he had like 2 dimes, and then just played a Tamatoa and double dimed it. It was basically solitaire for him. And then in round 8, I played Pau, who was playing red-yellow. The first game I was on the draw, and I lost. I didn't realize how aggressive the red-yellow deck was, and so I was like ramping to Shark without playing any characters. And then she played a Prince Eric, which cleared out my Shark, and then it was just like too much. I didn't like top deck a Beat Prep or and I don't think I top decked a Sisu either, although that would have been super helpful. So then the next game, I was on the play, and I was like, okay, change of plans. I'm going to play a character on 4. I'm going to play Maui on 5, and then I'll play Shark on 6. I'm not going to super ramp. So I won, and then the last game I was on the draw, and I ended up winning that one as well. Her deck was kind of interesting. It was like a Mufasa deck, but it also had like Prince Eric, it had Lady Tremaine, it had Madame Medusa, and then it also had Raya, the one where like when you ink, it readies a character. And then in my last round, I wrote Stefan, but I think it's Steven. And he was on red-blue items, and no joke, he is the fastest red-blue items player I have ever met. I was so impressed. I did end up losing to him, which, whatever. I was out of the running by then anyways, and they didn't do like top 32 pricing for the 15K. But I was just so impressed, and I'm still impressed. Like, I'm still like, wow, he was so fast at red-blue items. He said he had played it since set 4, so he was like very used to all the like workshop triggers and all that stuff. So first game I was on the play, I didn't see turn 2 ramp, which is somehow still managed to win that game 20-6. I think he probably bricked and like didn't see workshop or something. The second game I was on the draw, and I got to like 16 lore, but then he Tamatoa dimed. And then the third game, my notes make 0 sense. But anyways, the third game we started with like 5 minutes on the clock, and we did go to turns, but we finished the game. And he just did a lot of item stuff with Tamatoa dime. He had a quill out, so he was like inking a ton and had workshops and coils and whatever. I think there was one point I played 2 manners, and he just played 2 Scrooges for free. Vitalis feared them both, and then played a hook and took out my manners. So I ended up at the 15K with a record of 5-3-1, which is much better than 3-3-2. One, I didn't feel as tired because I wasn't playing items, and so it was like less counting and math and all that stuff. And I feel like had I not bricked around 6, maybe I truly feel that I could have made it into top 16. I felt like I was on a roll with that deck. So then afterwards, we went to dinner with the judges. Well, we went to dinner with like a bunch of Tyler's SLTC friends, and then also the judges joined us. Ooh, and I learned that day that you're supposed to, by the rules, exert all your characters in the same direction. Because we were having a discussion about like if people exert their characters to the left or to the right. And I was like, oh, I think I exert them different. Like if they challenge, I exert them, I think, to the right. And then if they sing for some reason, I go to the left. And like at the end of my turn, I go, oh crap, let me turn them all to the same side. but technically you're supposed to exert them all the same direction. And by the rules, it says clockwise is recommended. So learn something new. Yeah. So then on Sunday, I woke up super early again, like 3 a.m., unknown reasons. And Brian and I had brought a deck for 3v3, but then we didn't really feel like playing 3v3. And so I did play like in a Widow box, but I used the Hyper Aggro deck. I don't know why. It was not good. I matched into Amber Steel, so I immediately lost. And during the tournament, they were doing these Win a Labubu challenges. It was like a single elimination constructed, but it was going on at the same time as the 15K. And I literally thought to myself, do I drop from the 15K when I have no chance to win a Labubu? And they were the Disney version of Labubu. And I think they did like One Piece version of Labubu for the One Piece players, but they ran out on the first day. And then someone got like the secret Labubu. So when you get Labubus on the box, they have like the 8 different styles. And then there's one that's like not pictured. It's like the secret one. And the Disney one is like Huey, Dewey, Louie. So someone did actually get that and win the win of Labubus. And it was so funny because the entire time we're playing like this like serious tournament. And then you just hear over the announcement like, if you're signed up for the win of Labubu, please come to blah, blah, blah. And every single time they would say Labubu, everyone would just like groan or roll their eyes. So I was like, I kind of want to play that. But then like by the time it was Sunday, they had already run out of all the Labubus. But they said they are going to bring them to Denver and there's going to be more Labubus since it was a hit. So maybe in Denver I can win a Labubu. Not that I need one. And I have like a regular Labubu that my sister-in-law gave me. And I don't even like carry it around. So it was more like just novelty, I think, is why I got excited about the win of Labubu. So instead of, I did sign up also, they had a win a Rise of the Floodborn Trove, but you had to play with a first chapter starter deck. And I'm pretty sure I was the only one who ever signed up for that the entire day. So it never fired. And so so I ended up just watching the stream and watched Tyler totally kill it and win. It was very fun for me because you can kind of see his hand on the stream. And I was like, okay, if I had this hand on that board, this is what I would do. Like in my head, right? And then he would do the same thing. And I'd be like, yes, I made the right decision. So that was fun for me. And then like the people at home were like commentating on it in our Discord, which is pretty interesting. And then it's so funny because sometimes they're like, why did they take that line? I wouldn't have done that line. And in my head, I'm like, this is our problem, guys. We wouldn't have done that line. That's why we lose and they win. But yeah, so I think interesting. And then part of the video that I'm doing with Tyler is going to be, he's going to talk out some of like the crucial points where there were like some pivotal decisions that he made in what to do that might be different from what other people would have done. So hopefully that will help educate me and educate you guys so that we can be better. So then he ended up winning the whole thing. And he won like a mat, like a Pro Play Summit mat. It was like framed and everything. And then like literally he won. They did a little interview and then like they were like, you have 2 minutes to go to your 3v3 match since he was the captain of that one. And so I was like, just give me your mat. We'll hold on to it for you since we're not doing anything. And then you go play your 3v3. And then so Brian and I were just sitting there with his mat next to us and we were like practicing for MGL, which is like the Margolis hybrid tournament that we're part of, because we were both going to play later that day in the hybrid tournament. And so people kept walking by and congratulating Brian on his win because they saw the mat and they were like, oh, Matt, Asian guy, it must have been him. And we're like, no, it wasn't him. It was Tyler. He's playing in the 3v3. And so he ended up winning the 3v3 with his friends, Justin and Steven, who we met and got to hang out with a bunch this weekend, which was super fun. And then Brian and I were practicing. So Brian was playing Judy, who was top something in Toronto. I don't know where she had actually ended up. I think top 16. Somebody said top 2, but I'm pretty sure it was top 16. And then she ended up playing in the North American Championship. Judy also has never lost a game to Ed. So Brian was like, oh, maybe I should learn how to play Red Blue Sharks since Tyler won the 15K, right? And so then I was trying to explain what I knew about Red Blue Sharks from playing it. And then Judy normally she played Bucky when Bucky was a thing. And then she played to get into top 16 at Toronto. She played Amber Green discard. And so we're like, maybe she'll play that. But then the other thing is like last season when we did the hybrid tournament, Judy's husband, Ed, he changed his deck week to week because you're allowed to based on what he thought the other person was going to play. So then we're like, maybe she won't play that because she'll change her deck thinking Brian's going to play green steel because that's what he's been playing. And so I ended up playing like 8 or 9 games against Brian, me on red blue sharks and him on green steel. We did one open face and then a couple of closed face, and I lost every single game. I mean, I was on the draw in the beginning and I lost like 4 or 5 in a row. And I was like, actually, I want to be on the plate. And then I continued to lose. And I was like, how the heck did I beat you in Swiss? I must have gotten just so lucky. And then after that, we all went to dinner at Stockpiles, which is like the most Texas place I've ever been to. We got there and I was like, ooh, I am not dressed. So I was wearing like our team jacket. I had like a t-shirt and like these linen-ish pants. And everyone there was in denim short shorts and cowboy boots, cowboy hat. And I was like, oh, now I really want cowboy boots. But we got to hang out with Tyler's 3v3 team, some more and some other friends from SLTC. And then they had like a little situation that happened during their 3v3 where their last round opponent, one of them asked them to concede, even though, so Tyler's team's record was 4-0, and then this was like top 4 gets prizing, and it's based on Swiss. There's no like top cut. And the opponent's record was 3-1. And they were like, you should just concede to us, and then we will be 1 and you guys will be 2, which like makes 0 sense because why would they not just play it out and then they could, Tyler's team would be maybe 1, and if they lost, they would be 2, so it'd be the same. So why not play it out? It was very weird. But we did learn, because John, the judge, also went to dinner with us, that if your opponent asks you to concede to them in exchange for something, like, oh, you can get like second place prizing or blah, 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 whatever, they will get disqualified, which I knew before. But the second part that I didn't know is that if you don't report it and somehow later they find out that you didn't report it, you can also get disqualified for like not reporting it. So don't be nice. If someone asks you to concede to them, say, hell no, I'm calling a judge, because you don't want to like disqualify yourself. It's not worth it to be nice to someone else to screw yourself over. So learn that. And then at Stockpiles, where did we eat? Somewhere, something with a P and then hall. It was pretty good. I got steak frites and also a hibiscus margarita. And I, being Asian, do not metabolize alcohol that well. So we went back to the hotel room, and then I played my MGL match after that on Lorcana, and I definitely was still a little buzzed. Luckily, I think I played somebody who is usually like a casual player, so I got very lucky. So I played Red Blue Sharks, and then my opponent was playing Racers, and I apparently don't know any of the Racer cards. So literally every single card that she played, I had to hover over and be like, what does this card do? What does this card do? Every single card, I was like, what does this card do? The only one I recognized was Daisy Duck. And then there was like 2 King Candies, and one of them, when he's banished, gets the Racer back from the discard, and the other one, when someone challenges, I think, lets you banish a character, and I got them confused. I think at one point I accidentally inked a Maui Hero to All, and I meant to ink a Grandma. But I did end up winning both games. I think purely because of the power of the deck and the fact that I was playing a casual player, I got so lucky. Definitely not like my best game. But yeah, so that was the week. We came back yesterday, and then I feel so motivated currently because I feel like on Saturday I did so well in that 15K. Like I have never been 501 going in, except for maybe at like a local set champ. Usually I feel like okay, this is what I feel like usually happens to me in the tournament. I lose round 1, and then I win a couple, and then I maybe lose another one, and then I have to win everything to get into the top cut, and then I bubble in. This time, it was like, oh, I started with the bye, which is good, and then I just won. And then Tyler did watch like the end of my match that ended in a draw with red purple, and he was like, I think you probably would have won if you had more time, based on like he saw my hand. So, and then I think if I hadn't bricked and gotten literally 0 popsicles for 2 games, I maybe would have done better in that round 6, and then maybe would have been able to get top cut. So I feel like normally I don't feel like because the 15K I think was like 400 something people. Normally in these competitions, I am like in the 100, 200 place. not like in the teens. And so it's like the first time I felt like, oh, maybe I could be very good. And so I feel very motivated now to practice more and basically bother Tyler more and have him train me. And then, so the plan is like, and I feel like I almost feel, I guess I've heard. So when you listen to like really good people talk, they like don't really care that much about set champs at all. They're like, set champs is whatever. I want to like day two a challenge or, like their goals are so much higher. And I've always felt like, no, but I want to win set champs. That would be like a very good goal for me. But now I almost feel like, ooh, set champs or whatever. I mean, also because I don't really care about the Jafar. I think when it's Maleficent Dragon, I'll care more. But I'm also like, ooh, maybe set champs is whatever. And I want to be in the top cut in the next Pro Play Summit in Denver and then do well. I want a day two at DLC Milwaukee. And I want to put in the time to do that. So I feel more motivated. I feel more confident in my skills. I do have a lot to learn though. And also I feel like I did pretty well considering I didn't play Sharks on Friday and I practiced it a little bit during the week. So it wasn't like I really practiced it a ton leading into this competition because I was mostly playing items. And then prior to that was the set I was been playing Diggy Hole. So I feel like the potential is there. I just gotta, do the prep work so that it'll work. And so I've been practicing. Yesterday I practiced a bunch online and I think it was very exciting. Okay, I am gonna maybe add a screenshot later, but I played this person while we were still in the hotel in Fort Worth and I was on the play and I lost to this person. They were playing green steel. And then like 12 hours later, I played them again and I was on the draw and I won. So I was like, wow, look at all the difference I made by taking a plane flight and then like practicing with. I think I also had very lucky top decks, but I was like, the improvement is there if I just put in the time. So hopefully I can put in the time and then do well at Denver. We also found out that that the Pro Play Summit has like a circuit thing, which I don't really understand because I'm not in like the TCG space, but based on how you rank, you get points for it. And then if you get a certain number of points, you get invited to like an invitational thing. And so I'm going to get points so I can also be invited to an invitational. Yeah, so I'm feeling very pumped up and we'll be recording those videos with Tyler today and in the future, bothering him a lot more to practice because I have a lot of free time during the day and he does too. So it's like the perfect person to practice with. And yeah, that is it for me today. I don't know. Do you guys have questions you want to ask him? I'm gonna try to ask him a bunch of questions in our interview and the deck tech that I think other people would want to know. And then yeah, I was like, and then like, oh, the other thing was like, Brian, because people have asked me like, why don't you have guests on your podcast? And I was like, because it's literally just me rambling. And then after Tyler won, they were like, okay, well now you have to have him on your podcast. And I was like, oh, that's true. He has to at least be on the channel. He's not going to be part of the podcast probably, just because, I don't know, this is me rambling. But those two videos will be coming out shortly. The one, like the interview video, and then also the deck tech video. So stay tuned for that. And if we think of cool new stuff to make in the future, or if he ends up wanting to make content, it'll be here. So stay tuned, I guess, maybe. And then we were also joking a lot at dinner about how now he has to go on his like podcast tour. Because I feel like whenever people win big stuff, they end up doing a tour of all the big like Podcana or Forbidden Mountain or JDZ. Actually, I don't even know if JDZ has a podcast, but like they end up being on a bunch of different podcasts and like, oh, you ready to go on tour for your win? So, I mean, these are some of the questions I'm going to ask him during the interview video. Like what his plans are ultimately with Lorcana and if he wants to make content. Is he going to make a Metafy guide? I don't know. But I'll ask him. And so, yeah, I feel like the team is hyped. I'm hyped. Yeah, let's go and let's win some stuff. All right. So that is it for me. As always, keep shuffling. Hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables. Also, hopefully if you play a popsicle deck, you don't end up with no popsicles like me because it was very hard to play with no popsicles. Anyways, that's it. All right, bye. Here's some pictures from the competition of the winner. Me after I switched off of items. And then one of Brian Clock the Mats. It is Cinderella versus Derpy Cinderella.